Financial freedom mindset. What's up, my people? Today I want to talk about going from renting to buying to ownership. What I mean by that, I know when most people, when we leave our parents' house, we go out and the first thing we do is go out and rent. And I understand everything is a stepping stone, but I don't want us to stay in the rent category. I know somebody personally, very close to us, that been renting for almost, the longest I've been alive. Been renting for about probably 30 years. And I ain't talking about jumping from place to place renting. I'm talking about in the same exact apartment building for 30 years. And again, I'm not knocking them. I just like to learn from other people's experience. At that rate, whatever this person is paying for 30 years, that person could have owned their own building if they just took the time and sacrifice and tried to do it. I don't know what their circumstances. I'm just telling you that I know them, that they been living there for 30 years. And even though they've been living there for 30 years and still living there, now that they're way older and they could barely move, and as you get older, stuff deteriorate on you. You still responsible for that rent, regardless. And if the people raise the rent, you still gonna have to pay that rent. And at the end of the day, I'll prefer us to have our own, because now when you're older, and let's say you're not active like you used to be, that's yours. And at the end of the day, all you're responsible for is taxes. Pay your taxes, you're good to go. And insurance, you don't have to have insurance, but I recommend you have insurance because anything can happen, but you don't have to have it. You're responsible for taxes. But when you're paying rent, you're responsible for your rent. As it goes up, as the property value go up, the rent goes up, and people don't care. They don't know you. The owners of the building probably keep transferring, and they coming in and they renovating the place, and they're like, hey man, we're gonna go from, I don't know, 1,000, and we're gonna raise it up to 1,350. That's how it go. You can't control it because you don't own it. They own it. So I don't want any of us getting caught into that. So while we can do something about it, let's do something about it. So if you're renting, it's very easy to rent. When I say that, all you need is first, your last, and security deposit. So most people, we always just jump into renting. And so some places, depends who you're renting from, you don't even need last and security. They're so desperate, they let you just come in with the first month payment because they just need somebody in there so they could start paying their mortgage, because they're not even financially stable like that. So they rush and put somebody in there, and that's how they get bad tenants. Man, I take my time, boy. I'm good. If nobody got to be there, nobody there. I'm taking my time. I don't want no headache. I do background checks. We do all that. I ain't with that. So anyway, to run it back to what I was saying, I want us to go from the renters to buyers. And I think a lot of renters, you got to understand that the amount of money you're paying in rent, you'll be way cheaper paying your own mortgage. And at the end of the day, you're going to own it. It's like choosing to lease a car for the rest of your life when you could be financing a car. At least at the end of the day, you will own the car when you financing. But if you keep leasing, every year you're just getting a different car, but you'll never own a car. And at the end of the day, let's say something happened 10 years down the road, you don't even have a car. When that lease is up, you don't have a car at all. But at least if you financing the car, even if it takes you 6 years to pay it off, it's yours forever. That's your car now. Let's be on this side, just like we do with the cars. Let's own everything. But with renting, I don't think people even understand that once the mortgage is cheaper than your rent, because as the property value go up, they charging you more in rent. So let's say you was just for example, you paying $1,000, and the property value start going up around you. Now they're like, hey, we're gonna charge you $1,100 when your lease up if you want to stay here. And as soon as you move out and a new person move in, they probably charging them $1,200. They probably just giving you a little break because you've been a good tenant and you've been living there. But when you buy your own house, and even as the property go up, your mortgage stays the same. If anything, your taxes might go up a little bit because the value of your property goes up. So now that your taxes went up a little bit, maybe your mortgage might jump up an extra $30. But at the end of the day, that's your house. Even if you take 30 years, that's your house. It's paid off. All you're doing responsible for your taxes. So to get the money from renters to buying, I suggest to people, use your tax return. Use your bonuses that you get from work. Put in some extra work. I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done. But I feel like we've been surviving the whole year and our tax returns is already gone. And we've been surviving the whole year. And all of a sudden, when we get tax returns, all of a sudden we have to do 100 things that we can sometimes live without. If it's an emergency, I get it. I understand you have to do certain things. But you trading in your good car just to get another car because you want to upgrade, that is not an emergency. You want to buy certain things now and upgrade your furniture and upgrade the TV and you need the new iPad and, just little stuff that I know a lot of people like. You want the new something. If you could live without it, your family could live without it, you don't need it. This is more important. So I'm suggesting to people, get those tax returns. Those tax returns could change your life if you save them. Certain people, we get so much, and if we understand if we did so well with them, we could save a lot. Just imagine, okay, let's say you got your tax return. I would suggest put it in a CD because a lot of people, when you got $5 grand in the bank, people go and touch. All of a sudden, they need to do something, anything, because they know that $5 grand there, or they slacking at work because they think they got $5 grand as a security or whatever. I would suggest to people to put it in the CD at your bank. The CD at your bank, it don't give you a lot of interest. The interest is horrible. But let's say you wanted to go take money out of the CD. The penalty for taking the money out of the CD is so much that it's not worth it for you. I remember one time with my 401k, I don't know what happened, but I was going to go take my money out. I was going to empty it out. But the penalty was so much that there was like taking, I'm just giving you an example. Let's say I had $5 grand in there. They was going to take like $2,500 from me just to get, I'm like, oh no, leave that thing in there, man. I'll take that out and it wasn't worth it. But let's say it was, they're going to take out, I had $5 grand. Let's say they're going to take out $200. I'd have been like, yeah, take a little $200. Give me $4,800. And right now, I wouldn't have the amount that I have in right now because I would have took it out and probably wanted to put back in. Most likely, I wouldn't have put back in. So that's why I'm trying to recommend the CD to people. Yes, you can save it on your own, but if you haven't saved it on your own right now, it's going to be very difficult for you to know that you got $5 grand in the bank and not touch it. Even when your TV or something goes wrong, you're going to go touch it because you're like, oh, I need this $5 grand for this, and that. But if this is a CD, you ain't touching it. You're like, man, we're going to live without it because I ain't finna end up paying these people all this money just to get my own money. So usually a CD is like a year or two. So now let's say next year come, throw your taxes on it, put it in the CD. Your $5 grand is now 10 grand. 10 grand is plenty of money to get you inside a house. If you working, you got 2 years of W-2, your credit decent, you don't need awesome credit. I don't know, people, again, we don't know. I'm telling you, you don't need awesome credit. You don't need a 800 credit score. You don't even need a 700 credit score. People could work with you with a 650 credit score. You know what I'm saying? It's just like getting a car. Different banks, different qualifications. If your credit is bad, you can still get in. Your interest you might pay a little more interest than the average person with good credit. Not say average person, then a person with good credit, you might pay a little more. But at the end of the day, that's your house. And the goal is to own the house. And the benefits of, let's say now you're in the house, and like I said, your property value goes up. Let's just say to make the math easier, you pay $100,000 for the house. You've been paying on the house 15 years. Now you owe, let's say, $75,000 to the mortgage, and property has went up. And now that same house that you have is valued at $175,000. You can refinance. If let's say you had something important to do, you could refinance and borrow up to you can borrow up to how much the house is valued. So let's say the house value $175,000. You could refinance and borrow $100,000. You can sell your house and put $100,000 in your pocket because now you only owe them $75,000. Let's say somebody want to buy the house from you for $175,000. That's $100,000 in your pocket. And this is stuff I'm not just reading about and heard it from a TV show. I've seen it. I have somebody very close to me. They brought their property around the same time as me. They still have the property. They owe way less than what they pay for it. And if they decide to sell it tomorrow, they don't want to. They're renting it out. So I was there when they bought it. I was there when they're renting it, and I'm going to be there when they sell it. If they decided to sell that same property that they bought 7 years ago, they can put $100,000 in their pocket right now. This is a normal person. This is nobody who have he's not rich or they're not rich. This is a normal person who took their normal little money, our tax return. I bought my house and he bought his house. Him and his family bought their house. And that same person could put $100,000 in their pocket tomorrow if they wanted to. And just to tell you the story, some people have this information and they want to hide it from other people. I want all of us to do good. I ain't here to hide it. I'm here to get the information and pass it to you and tell you regular person who making $9 an hour, $10 an hour, you can do it. So if you that person and you making way more money than that, you can definitely do it. All you gotta do is change your mindset. You maybe didn't know, now you know, or you wasn't thinking about it. I'm just here to spark it in your mind. It's a lot of benefits when you own, because at the same time you get tax deductions. You get a line of credit. You can refinance the property. You get the value goes up in the property. There's a whole lot of things that you can do, and it's better to do that than continue to keep renting. Because at the end of the day, the renters, you're paying somebody else rent. You're paying their mortgage, and you're paying it off of their family. It's better you pay your own mortgage and pay it off of your family. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be renters. And there's always going to be somebody who's collecting the rent. It's on you to decide what side you want to be on. You could rent forever, or you could be one of them people that you could collect the rent. I want to collect rent. I don't like it. But again, everything is a stepping stone. So if you are renting now, don't take it personal. Just say, okay, I'm a renter now. I'm going to save this money and I'm going to be a buyer. And even when you're a buyer, we still got to step it up because we got to own it. You already know what I'm going to say. You a buyer. You don't own it. You only own when you got that deed in your hand. And it said you are the owner of your address. You don't own it till you get the title for that car. Mayor Troy Adams, you are the owner of this blah, 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 blah. Now I'm the owner and I can pass it down. I can sell it and collect all the money. Same thing with the houses. You're not the owner. You can pass it down when you're the owner. You can't pass it down if you owe money on it. But just to come tell you, go from renters to buyers to owners. If we can, what I would love to do with my kids is to make them skip renters. To make them, as soon as they leave my house, they go right into a buyer. That's my goal. If they're willing to listen to me, I am willing to help them. I'm willing to help the next generation. Stay with me. After you go to college and you get your full-time job, come back home. Be responsible, but don't just pay a certain bill and spend up all your money. That's not gonna happen. I'm gonna just tell you go, because you're not gonna just make me overwork and you want to sit there and play around. If you agree with what I'm telling you, come back home. Save your money. Save 10 grand. You working a full-time job. You see what our W-2s look like. You be like, man, where all that money went to? But it's us, we spending so much. And then at the end of the day, when we think about, man, we've been working 10 years. I've been making this. What happened to the last 10 years? Where that money at? You paying rent. You're just paying little stuff. You're paying rent, your cable, your phone bill, your car payments, your insurance. You know, you're eating. You're paying a lot of stuff that's small, but it add up at the end of the day. A lot of stuff that, let's say you go back home. You ain't paying majority of them things. You better off just paying your people $300 or $400 and stay with them. You helping them, and at the same time you saving a whole bunch of money. So now let's say you saving all that money, man. If you could really sacrifice, you could leave and pay your house off cash. But I understand you want your own space. I say sacrifice for a year or two, save it, help your people, and move out and start that journey, start that financial freedom journey. But just the suggestions, it was on my mind, and I wanted to come give it to the people. You know better. You do better. Other people doing it. We can do it too. I believe in you. You got to believe in yourself. Don't make me believe in you more than you believe in yourself. If you agree with what I'm saying, you disagree with what I'm saying, leave a comment, put the likes. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm here to learn too. I don't know everything. I'm just following the path that's been working for me, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I want to share it with people. We can't pretend to be like people we see on TV. That's not real life. Those people are put there because they benefit off of us thinking like we need to be like them. So that means we want to go out and buy all the clothes, the fashion. They're not telling you to build. I just hope you could see it in your head to see that what I'm saying, I don't want nothing for you. I'm just spreading the knowledge so we could pass it to the next generation so they could be better off than us. Next time, my people,